Let's say you've just arrived to a classroom. Class hasn't started yet, but when you open the classroom door, groups of students are standing in a tight circle talking animatedly to one another. Everyone in the circle is participating in the conversation, some more than others. You can't hear what they're talking about, but you know you're in the right place, exactly where you're supposed to be. You decide to walk up to one of the groups in an effort to join the conversation. Now at this point, you're probably going to do a few things. Take a moment to listen to what's being said to try to catch on to the conversation. When you have some sense of what the conversation is about, you may ask a question or two to be sure your understanding is correct. And eventually, you're going to join the conversation and hopefully be an active participant who contributes to what is being said. You will learn from what others say, and others will learn from what you have to say. People are constantly entering the room, so more people are joining your group. At some point, you and others leave the room, and the conversation continues with those who remain. They continue to build on the conversation that now includes the contributions you made when you were there. Academia, college and university culture is like this conversation. At some point, you enter, but an ongoing conversation is already in progress. The conversation is a metaphor for all the knowledge and research and discoveries and learning that has taken place and continues to be created at a college or university. As a student, you are here to discover what others have learned and build upon it, add to the learning, for the benefit of those who will enter the room after you. And in that way, the conversation continues. Understanding this metaphor is key to understanding the heart of college culture and understanding what it means to write in an academic context and to develop an academic habit of mind. As a student, you are expected to contribute to the ongoing conversation of academia. Of course, you're here to learn, but you also have the ability to add new information, ideas, and perspectives to the conversation. Therefore, in this English course, you're expected to produce college-level writing that adds to the ongoing conversation. What's expected of academic writing? The readings mention several expectations of the writing students produce, but here are a few that I want to highlight. Evidence that you've considered your subject thoughtfully. Academic writing is not something you slap together at the last minute. You need to take time to think carefully, critically about your topic, and that needs to show in your writing. Depending on the assignment, you may need to perform research. Make sure you give your writing some thought. We'll talk later in this video about the writing process, which will help you produce your best possible written work. A clear, appropriately qualified thesis. In academic writing, you need to have a main point, and you need to state it explicitly. Our textbook provides many good examples of good writing that contain solid thesis statements, and when we work on our research essay, I will provide you with a helpful formula, sort of a guide, for creating your thesis statement and structuring your entire essay. Good reasons supported by evidence. This is key to academic writing. Your reasons for your thesis statement need to make sense, and you need to be able to support your thesis with solid evidence. A confident, authoritative stance. Keep in mind that your writing should contribute to a larger conversation, and your tone should convey confidence and establish your authority to write about your subject, as is stated in the textbook. Now, I've said that you are contributing your ideas and insights and perspectives. However, in your writing, you should avoid such wording as, in my opinion, and I think, and you should write in a straightforward, direct style. As the textbook states, your writing should send a message that you've done the research, analysis, and thinking and know what you're talking about. Carefully documented sources. When you borrow the voice of someone else in the conversation, you have to let everyone know. If you don't, the assumption is that you are responsible for that information and idea and insight and perspective. Careful documentation is of major importance in academic writing, and failing to properly document sources is plagiarism and could earn you a failing grade in the course and a notation on your academic record. We use MLA format for documentation and citation, and we will review MLA format. The OCTEC plagiarism policy can be downloaded from our course homepage. Careful attention to correctness. Use the English language correctly. Always write in complete sentences, use appropriate capitalization and punctuation, and check that your spelling is correct, as is stated in our textbook. Never submit academic work in text speak. Give yourself enough time to carefully proofread your work more than once. Developing academic habits of mind. Your mindset is really important when it comes to being a college student. Unlike in high school, there's no one in college to remind you to complete assignments and to get your work done. You are responsible for your own success or failure. This is why I'm glad that the textbook includes a section on developing academic habits of mind. It doesn't matter if you've been a great student or a terrible student or anything in between. Every student needs to actively develop a mindset that will help them achieve success at the college level. I want to highlight a few important tips from the textbook. Engage. As the textbook states, successful students make an investment in school. Learning won't always be fun or easy, but successful students dedicate themselves to learning. I like to think of it as eating the vegetables on your plate. It may not be your taste, but it'll be good for you in the long run. So do yourself a favor and stay engaged all semester long. By the way, it doesn't count if you're only engaged at the end of the semester when final grades are due. At that point, it's probably too late for you to save your semester. And remember, I do not give grades. You receive what you've earned. Fight off boredom. Boredom leads to procrastination. Students who are bored tend to put off their schoolwork until later, and some students never complete their work. Boredom will be a trap that can negatively impact your work in this course. Instead of accepting boredom, try varying the ways in which you complete tasks, as the book suggests. Also, never forget your purpose for being in college. Remember, college is a decision you've made. A college education is not required by law, so if you're here, the assumption is that you've chosen to be here and that you want to be here. Ask questions. As a student, you're here to learn. No one expects you to have all the answers. If you have a question, please ask your question. You can ask in person, via email, or via phone, or via discussion board, which is preferred because other students who may have the same question will see your question and will also see my response. However, be sure to read and/or watch everything that I present in this online class. Sometimes I've already answered your question in the information I've provided. If this is the case, I may direct you back to the information that I've already supplied to you. Be flexible. Most often, there is more than one approach to completing an assignment. You may have been taught one method by another teacher, but in this class we may do something different. Stay open to learning new things. Also, be adaptable about the ways in which you learn. You may have told yourself that you work better at the last minute, meaning you wait until it's dangerously close to deadline before you try to complete your work. That may work for you until it doesn't. In other words, that may have worked for you in other classes, but it may not work in this class. Be flexible enough to give yourself adequate time to complete your assignments. Persist. Don't quit. Sometimes you'll encounter setbacks, but don't lose heart. Students who continue to try are usually the students who pass the course. And take responsibility. Responsibility is your ability to respond. When you don't complete your assignments or submit poor quality work, you are not responding well. Remember, I don't give grades. I give instruction and information to help you learn. You earn your grades. Do not resort to blaming when the responsibility is yours. Now let's talk about the writing process. As we get started this semester, it's important that we discuss the writing process. You may have studied it in other English classes, or you may have heard about it before. The writing process is a formula. When we think of formulas, we tend to think of science and math courses. But the writing process is a formula that can be used in English classes, and its purpose is simple: to help the writer produce his or her best written work. Again, the whole goal of the writing process is to help you, the student, produce your best possible written work. Unlike with other formulas, the steps and stages of the writing process can vary. Different people will teach it differently, and different textbooks will present it differently. I teach it as a 5-step process. Let's take a look at that process. Pre-writing. Pre-writing is the first stage of the writing process. When you receive your assignment overview with all the guidelines and requirements, you're at the pre-writing stage. At the pre-writing stage, you have to determine the direction you will take with your assignment. You may have been given a topic, but you still need to figure out how you will approach that topic and create an essay that meets the assignment requirements. At the pre-writing stage, you'll need to do something I call a brain dump or brainstorming. You might also choose some other pre-writing techniques as well. But with the brain dump, it's like removing everything from a cluttered drawer in your home, placing everything on a table, searching through the contents to pick out the items you need. Pre-writing techniques help the writer perform this brain dump. Many students brainstorm, where they will pull out their computers or take out a pen and a sheet of paper and jot down everything that comes to mind on the topic. The textbook offers other techniques starting on page 289, including free writing, looping, and clustering. Take a look at that section of the textbook and determine the type of pre-writing technique that could work best for you. Ideally, at the end of the pre-writing stage, you will have a clear direction for your essay, and you will have created a preliminary outline to help guide your writing. This outline will be especially useful for the second step in the writing process: drafting. Drafting is when you create a first draft, also known as a rough draft, of your assignment. The key to the drafting stage is making sure you meet all the assignment guidelines. If I've asked you to create a 4 to 6 page essay, for example, and your rough draft is only 2 pages, you've not followed the assignment guidelines. Your rough draft should not be your final version of your writing, but it needs to be your best possible work at that point in time. Never slap something together for the rough draft. I need to see your best effort at all times so you can get the help that's needed to improve your writing. And never submit fluff, an essay with filler wording that you know doesn't relate to or support your essay. It's a waste of your time and mine. In this class, I require that students submit their rough drafts to BrainFuse, a free online service that is available to OC Tech students. An English professional through BrainFuse will provide detailed feedback on rough drafts. I will not. Okay, so again, when you submit your essay to BrainFuse, an English professional who works with the BrainFuse service will provide feedback on your rough drafts. I will not provide feedback on your rough drafts. However, students must submit their rough drafts to D2L for me to read and review for assignment credit. And students will meet with me to discuss their BrainFuse feedback. It typically takes 48 hours to receive feedback from a BrainFuse tutor once you've submitted your rough draft, so be sure to upload your rough drafts to BrainFuse immediately after you submit your rough drafts to D2L. So again, after you've submitted your rough draft to D2L for me to read and review them, make sure that you immediately upload your rough drafts to BrainFuse so that one of the BrainFuse tutors will have an opportunity to look at it and offer you that detailed feedback on your rough draft. Revising is the next stage of the writing process. During the revising stage, you should use your BrainFuse feedback and the results of my meeting with you to make your writing better. We often write how we speak, and in the revising stage, you want to replace any unnecessary or unclear phrasings that could hinder the flow of your writing. I don't ask students to submit a revision of their essay, so this is something you will do on your own. However, If you want me to look at the revision of your essay, I would be happy to. You can come to my office hours or call during my office hours or by appointment so we can discuss your work in person or via phone. I do not provide revision feedback via email. You can also resubmit your revised essay to BrainFuse for additional feedback. The next stage is editing/proofreading. At this stage, you should have revised your writing, and now you're trying to make your writing correct. You want to be detailed. Carefully read every word of your essay. Make sure your grammar and sentence structure are correct. Make sure you're responding to the assignment requirements. Carefully edit and proofread your essay more than once. Because the next stage is, drumroll please, publishing. At this stage, you submit your final draft of your essay to D2L for me to grade. At the publishing stage, you are essentially saying, Ms. Smith, this is my best possible work and it meets assignment guidelines. I stand behind it, grade it, and I will. So those are the 5 steps of the writing process. Now let me point out one thing. Oftentimes, the writing process is not linear. You may get to the drafting stage and realize you need to go back to pre-writing to generate more ideas or find another direction for your essay. And that is fine. That illustrates why it's important to give yourself enough time to work through this process to produce your best written work. So it won't always happen in these neat step-by-step stages. Sometimes you realize you may have to go back to another stage so that you can get a handle on what it is you're doing. And a few other things to know. If you do not submit a rough draft to me and or to BrainFuse, you're only hurting yourself. Students who submit rough drafts that adhere to assignment guidelines will receive full credit for their rough drafts. Okay, I'll say that again. Students who submit rough drafts that adhere to assignment guidelines will receive full credit for their rough drafts. And of course, this means that you've submitted it by deadline. If you don't, then points will be deducted. Okay? Students whose rough drafts do not meet assignment guidelines will have points deducted, and students who do not submit a rough draft will earn a grade of 0 on that rough draft assignment. If you don't complete a rough draft, do not be surprised if your final draft is not your best possible work. And finally, don't forget about the OC Tech plagiarism policy. Don't cheat. Don't recycle essays you've created for another class, current or former. Don't do anything that could jeopardize your academic integrity and earn you a failing grade in this course and a notation on your college record. Work hard. Write in academic contexts, develop academic habits of mind, use the writing process, and make sure you read and carefully review the OC Tech plagiarism policy. Hopefully, this video has been informative and helpful. If you have additional questions, please let me know. And again, this is Ms. Smith, your English instructor, and I look forward to a fantastic semester. Take care.